Aiy-yu-kwee, Naknamalita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian. Today I will be talking about my February 2021 TBR. Now, the TBR construction that I've been doing for December and January of 2020 and January of 2021 December didn't work out so great. January, I feel like it worked like perfectly. Though I am pre-filming this, so I may hopefully didn't just jinx myself. I'm kind of breaking that structure a little bit for February, mostly because I do want to participate in a month-long readathon that Kate from Chaptercviii is hosting. And so hopefully, and I know I have 3 arcs that I need to read in February, as well as wanting to add books that would fit into the prompts for Kate's readathon. So it's going to be a little ambitious, a little different. However, the buzzwordathon readathon portion will still be slightly similar. So let's just get into it. So as I said, I want to participate in Kate's readathon, and this is a month-long readathon called VaLITines. I'll leave all the information down in my description down below, as well as a link to Kate's from Kate's channel in the description down below. But basically, this is a Valentine's themed readathon, but it's not necessarily focused on a romance. It's just focused on the love of reading, which I really appreciate, just because romance and I so far have not gotten along. At least in 2020 we didn't, but that was 2020. So I very much liked the prompts and the challenges of this readathon, and the fact that it's a month long always appeals to me. So I definitely tried to fit my TBR into these prompts. There is a bingo board, which I'll put up here briefly, but again, I'll link everything that you need to know about this readathon down in the description down below. There's also other challenges that haven't been released yet. Like I said, I'm pre-filming this, so hopefully by the time this goes up, there's more things to update you on. Everything will be in the links down below. So the bingo board for this readathon is filled with not only reading prompts, but like physical challenges. And I'll go over the reading prompts that I hope to be able to fulfill. Though, like I said, this is pretty ambitious. So as much as I am hoping to do this, who knows if I will be able to, but we'll ultimately just have to see. The physical challenge I'm not too worried about. I'll worry about that later in the month. I'll go over the reading prompts of the bingo board, as well as what I hope to read for them. I do not have a book for everything. My goal is not to do a blackout or necessarily get a bingo. It's just essentially just to have fun. So I'm picking and choosing based off the books that I really want to get to. So I have this in order as Kate does on the website, giving information for this readathon. So I'm just going to go that way, and I believe it's from left to right on the bingo board. So the first is Love Shack, a book with a building on the cover. I'm choosing a 2020 release that I've heard good things about from Monica, but I haven't heard anywhere else. But because Monica did a vlog on this, I really just wanted to pick it up, and I still want to read it, and that is We Are Not Free by Tracy Chee. Its whole background is a building cover, and I love how, like, just the depth and different. I love this cover. It's beautiful. But basically, I believe this follows several teens following the attack of Pearl Harbor. Yes, we follow 14 Japanese American teens who find their lives irrevocably changed due to registration, curfew, eviction, incarceration, as World War II roars on around them. I believe this is going to be pretty hard hitting. I also haven't read a perspective on that before. I was aware of it, but this should offer some insight to it that I have not yet read before. So the next prompt is Black Future Month, which is to read a book about Afrofuturism. And for that, I am planning on reading How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. I did start this in January, but paused it in order to keep up with my TBR. And so the little that I did listen to, I absolutely enjoyed. I'm hoping I can just renew my audiobook from my library in order to keep listening to it, because I really was enjoying it. N.K. Jemisin was an author that I finished up 2020 with and immediately wanted to know more about their works. I believe How Long Till Black Future Month is a collection of N.K. Jemisin's short stories, some of which have been turned into their longer series, like The City We Became. And I feel like before getting into any of their works further, I want to listen to the short story collection to see how their writing has changed and see what the differences are of these short stories that inspired longer series. So yeah, if you don't know who N.K. Jemisin is, they are a Black author who is immersed in science fiction fantasy, and I absolutely loved The City We Became. It was the last book I read for 2020, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, though I understand that book in particular was pretty different from their regular works. So I hope that How Long Till Black Future Month will be able to help get me to have a better understanding of their writing.
Hello, editing Melita here, and I just wanted to say that the reading of How Long Till Black Future Month has now become a little unknown to me. I was able to read a little bit more of it while I had an audio book from my library out. However, I did have to return that, and I could not renew it due to multiple holds being after mine. So I do expect a physical copy any day now, and it is still January. So I'm hoping to get it done before February in all actuality. So with all of that said, I'm still loving it, and that's why I'm keeping all of this information in here. But I do want to say that if I am able to get it done before February, then my backup plan is Nnedi Okorafor's new release, Remote Control. This one, I'm not entirely sure what it's about, but the synopsis has me real excited for it, as well as the cover. And basically, I'm just going to read, she's the adopted child of the angel of death. Beware of her, mind her, death guards her like one of its own. And that just gets me super excited for it. So yeah, I just know it's Afrofuturism. The cover is gorgeous. I love Nnedi Okorafor's writing, and I can't wait for it.
The next prompt is Goo Goo Eyes, and this is to read a book with a beautiful cover or with eyes on the cover. And for this book does both, and that is Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley. I honestly am not sure what this is about, honestly, and that's perfectly fine, but I did get I've heard fantastic things from Dani and Alexis and Erin, and I've just been hearing good things that I didn't even really care what it was about. I just know that it's an Indigenous author writing about Indigenous characters. I hear it pretty hard hitting. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, and I got a approval for a NetGalley copy, ebook copy. So I'm excited to get into this. This one is one of the arcs that I need to read for February, and this book comes out in March. The next prompt I don't have a book for, but I'll go over it anyway, and that is Words of Affirmation. This is a book that is blurred by a favorite author of yours. I haven't found any blurbs by authors that I know of on any of the books that I have picked out.
Editing Melita here again, and yes, I do have one for this. It would be Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor, if I do end up getting to this, which I really do hope to. Neil Gaiman blurbs this book as Nnedi Okorafor writes glorious futures and fabulous fantasies. Her worlds open your mind to new things, always rooted in the red clay of reality. Neil Gaiman is one of my favorite authors. I absolutely loved American Gods and The Graveyard Book, and hope to read more of his in the future.
The next is Love Language, and this is to read a translated work. This is another ARC that I received from Nat Galley, and that is Poems to Night by Rainer Maria Rilke. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. This is a German-originated collection of poems that is being translated into English, and from what I understand, Rilke is a pretty well-known German 20th century poet. Is also a copy that will be published in March of 2021. So I hope, yeah. Also, the cover for this is also gorgeous. Absolutely love it, and I'm interested to get into more poetry and see what exactly I can pinpoint what I like and don't like about it. Since this one has to deal with night and the cover is gorgeous, I'm hoping that it will appeal to my fascination with the moon and nighttime things. So the next prompt is going to be skip a beat. This is to skip the synopsis and just start reading the book. I feel like this can be done with almost all of my books. The next prompt is Quality Time, a book that you think will take a while, and for this I have chosen a book that a group of us are going to be reading either in February or March, but I figure I will start in February and we'll kind of take my time through. I don't expect to finish in February, but I hope to, and that is Water Lily by Ella Carla Deloria. This book was published after Deloria's death, and I believe it follows a family. It follows Bluebird and her daughter Water Lily through an intricate kinship practices that created unity among her people. I believe this is a look on Dakota culture and is a spirited family story. So this talks about traditional culture as well as women's culture. I'm excited about this. Like, I don't know any of the authors blurbed on the back, but it sounds very invigorating and just full of knowledge, so I'm excited to get to it. However, the margins are large and the font is a little small, so it doesn't look very big, but it feels dense. So we'll see just how long it takes me. The next prompt is Gifts, a book that was given to you or you want to give to someone. And for this, even though I could pick any of my arcs, I am going to be picking Love After the End, edited by Joshua Whitehead. This is an anthology of two-spirit and indigenous queer speculative fiction. This was gifted to me kindly by Neil over at Neil Yazzie on Instagram. Thank you so much, Neil, once again. I feel like this is appropriate to read in February. This came out last year in 2020. The next prompt is Opposites Attract, and this is to read a genre or format that is different to what you would normally read. And though I have read romance in the past, I haven't always got along with it, particularly in 2020. But I've been wanting to give this one a try, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I believe this follows Chloe Brown and something ends up, I think she has, she's chronically ill and tends to spend most of her time inside, but then when something happens where she almost dies, she feels like she needs to start living her life, and so ends up having a list of things that she wants to do, and ends up meeting a guy that is trying to help her fulfill that list. So I've heard really good things about this. I'm hoping it's not an overhyped thing and that it's gonna just completely fail me, but I am hoping that I enjoy it, because I do ultimately want to find a romance that I can enjoy. So the next prompt is My Sunshine, and that is to read a book that seems or looks lighthearted. And even though I think there's some heavy topics in this, featuring chronically ill, I think it'll have some interesting discussions, but ultimately as a romance I feel like it should ultimately be lighthearted in some way. I don't know. That's what I think, but maybe that's why I'm not liking romance, is because I'm going into it wrong. I don't know, but that's what I picked for this. The next prompt is Long Distance, and this is to read a book that takes place in a different country, and for that I'm choosing another newer release, and that is Earth Eater by Dolores Rees. This one is set in Argentina and follows a woman who has a compulsion to eat earth that gives her visions of the murdered and disappeared. Her ability is no superpower, With her first taste of the dirt, she learns the truth of her mother's death. Disturbed by what she's witnessed, Eater keeps her visions to herself, but when she strikes up an unlikely relationship with a withdrawn police officer, word of her visions spread, and desperate members of her community seek her out and help her find loved ones in closure. So this one sounds intense. The cover is absolutely gorgeous. It looks relatively short and it should be really interesting. The next prompt is head over heels, and this is to find an author with a longer first name than their last name. And for this is my last arc that I need to read in February, and that is The Lowering Days by Gregory Brown. Gregory has 7 letters while Brown has 5, so there we go. And this arc also comes out in March, and so it's about a particular family that lives next to a river, and it's a particularly small community, and the paper mill that was its largest employer, but like a lifesaver for some, was also the cause of toxicity and death due to the pollution it caused into the river. So this is kind of like this family kind of realizing, this community realizing the divide. Yeah. The next prompt is Touch, and this is a book that has an interesting texture. There's also I believe an alternative if you can't touch, that has an interesting texture, or a book that you think will touch you. And for that I am choosing Earth Eater, mostly because this cover is textured, that these bits here are raised, and I absolutely love it, particularly because it does look like it's mattering of paint, so that was really exciting to me. So the next 2 prompts I have books for. It's going to be part of the Buzz Readathon. Next one is Long Term. This is read a book that has been on your TBR for a long time, and for this I'm kind of reaching for my Buzz Readathon selection. So for Buzz Readathon, the theme for February is color, and ultimately how everyone's taking it is to read a book that has a color on the front or a color in the title. And I have a couple, but they're all relatively newer releases. So in the spirit of Kayla from Books and Lala, I'm snagging her idea of reading books with the Pantone colors, particularly the Pantone colors of 2021, that yellow and gray, and chose books with those colors on the cover. And so for the 3 of them, mostly because the thing with Buzz Readathon is wanting to read more of my backlist books. So the first of the 3 is Recursion by Blake Crouch. I got this from Book of the Month, obviously, in 2019, so it's about 2 years old now. I have no idea what it's about. It deals with false memory syndrome, a mysterious affliction that drives its victims mad with memories of a life they never lived. That's what neuroscientist Helena Smith believes. It's why she's dedicated her life to creating a technology that will let us preserve our most precious memories. If she succeeds, anyone will be able to re-experience a first kiss, the birth of a child, the final moment with a dying parent. As Barry searches for the truth, he comes face to face with an opponent more terrifying than any disease, a force that attacks not just our minds, but the very fabric of the past. And as its effects begin to unmake the world as we know it, only he and Helena working together will stand a chance at defeating it. This sounds really intense. But yeah, I've had this for a couple years now. I've heard really good things when everyone was talking about it. I have not read a Blake Crouch before, so this should be interesting. The second option is The Caped Crusade, and this is Batman and the Rise of Nerd Culture. This is a nonfiction, and I thought the cover worked really well for the gray and the yellow. But basically, it just kind of is a nonfiction that kind of looks at Batman and how integral he was in terms of as a character in pop culture, in art, because he was a pop art sensation a pointy-eared master spy, cycling through eras of dark melodrama and light comedy and back again. He is consistently changing, jumping from page to screen and beyond, and yet he remains one of our most revered cultural icons. In this witty, wise, and fascinating history, NPR critic and self-proclaimed nerd Glenn Weldon explains why we've continued to look to this masked man in the night and what that devotion tells us about ourselves. I got this a while ago and I've been interested in it but haven't picked it up yet. Mostly because for some reason nonfiction still intimidates me, even despite how interesting I find them. And then my final option for the Buzzwordathon prompt for color is Down the River Onto the Sea by Walter Mosley. I don't know who Walter Mosley is. I don't like that his name is larger than the title, but this one follows a former NYPD cop who must solve two cases, that of a man condemned to die and his own. I believe he was an NYPD cop and someone framed him, so then he no longer, someone framed him for assault, and a decade later as a private detective, he, with the help of his teenage daughter, he receives a letter from a woman who admits she was paid to frame him years ago. Yeah, so these three I've had for a while, and so hopefully one of them I will be able to pick up and figure out at least one of them, if not all three, to try and fulfill some of these prompts. So those work well for a book that's been on your TBR for a long time. It also fulfills the prompt sharing is caring, to read a prompt based on another readathon. So that works out perfectly. The next prompt is Love Song, and that's a book that reminds you of your favorite song. I don't know about you, my favorite song changes consistently, and I don't know necessarily if a book is going to be able to remind me of my favorite song currently unless I read it. So it's one of those things that I feel like I can't pick beforehand. Next is Acts of Service. This involves a quest of some sort. I feel like any, if not all of these, a good amount of these could fulfill that prompt. Dream Come True, a book that reminds you of a dream, either literally or figuratively, which I don't have anything picked out for that. Commitment Issues, continue or start a new series, and I feel like Get a Life Chloe Brown can work well for that. I know that most romances, when they have a series, it's not necessarily a series, it's more of companions. However, I know that is an opinion amongst some, so I don't know. I personally like reading books in publication order.
Editing Melita here, back again. I forgot to record myself for the last prompt, I guess. The last prompt is First Date, read a new to you author, and I feel like out of my TBR for this month, the only authors that I've read from before is N.K. Jemisin and Nnedi Okorafor. So aside from that, all of these authors are new to me.
So that's my TBR for February. If you've read any of these, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Otherwise, what do you plan on reading for February? Do you plan on participating in VaLITines Readathon? I'd love to hear if you are or not. If you are, what prompt are you most looking forward to doing? Whether it's a reading prompt or a physical challenge prompt or an action prompt. I shouldn't say a physical challenge prompt, as Kate's done really well in making sure that it's not limited to ableism. So otherwise, I have some links in my Raise Awareness links down in the description down below. I will also leave any links to booktubers that I have mentioned. My Raise Awareness links will feature MMIW2S, which is Murdered, Missing, Indigenous Women, Girls, and Two-Spirit People. I have a variety of links for more information, as well as donation links to organizations, nonprofits across the US and Canada, as well as for Turnout, which is an LGBTQ plus nonprofit organization down in the Bay Area of California, so San Francisco area, that helps the LGBTQ community with food and COVID services and just emergency services, and they also offer volunteer work and also are taking donations. Check those out if you can. Share and donate where you can. Otherwise, I will talk to you again soon. Ciao.